Democracy isn't disappearing, but something is changing. Elections still happen, parliaments still vote, and yet, many of the most important decisions no longer move when voters do. So the real question isn't whether democracy exists, it's this: how much power does it still have? In this explainer, we'll look at what democracy actually is beyond voting, why democratic choice is narrowing in practice, and how authority is increasingly exercised beyond direct public control. Understanding this helps explain why people may feel politically represented, yet increasingly powerless at the same time. Democracy is not just elections. At its core, democracy is a decision system where collective choices are made by the public, either directly or through representatives accountable to voters. Its power depends on three things: meaningful choice, real influence over outcomes, and the ability to reverse decisions through public pressure. When these weaken, democracy remains in form but loses substance. This creates a paradox many people sense but struggle to name. Democratic procedures still function, but the range of decisions they can meaningfully influence keeps shrinking. Why? Because authority is increasingly delegated to arenas deliberately insulated from elections. This delegation happens through structures such as international trade and investment agreements, financial and monetary frameworks, independent regulatory bodies, courts and long-term legal commitments, and supranational institutions. These arrangements are often designed to provide stability, predictability, or coordination. But once authority moves there, voters can no longer directly influence outcomes, even when public preferences change. Democracy remains intact procedurally, but its scope becomes narrower. As economies integrate globally, political choice faces tighter constraints. Policies must satisfy legal commitments, financial stability requirements, cross-border dependencies, and long-term institutional rules. Before we continue, if you think this is valuable, please like. It helps share it with others. Subscribe so we stay informed together. Democracy works best when voters can choose. Global systems work best when rules remain predictable. As those systems expand, democratic discretion shrinks, not through force, but through structural design. This is where confusion often arises. Many assume shrinking democratic influence means democracy has failed or is being deliberately undermined. Historically, it's often a trade-off. To gain stability, integration, or coordination, societies limit political discretion. Democracy remains, but within tighter boundaries. The risk isn't democracy disappearing overnight. It's the widening gap between what citizens expect democracy to deliver and what democratic systems are still able to decide. As this gap grows, frustration rises, and confidence in democratic systems weakens. Pay attention when elections change leaders, but not policy. Major decisions are framed as non-negotiable. Democratic debate exists, but outcomes feel fixed. Authority is diffused across institutions, with no one directly elected. These are signs democracy still exists, but operates inside shrinking space. So ask yourself, where does democratic choice still matter most in the system you live under? And just as important, is that space shrinking, stabilizing, or expanding? This episode connects directly to other TNBC explainers: ideology versus system versus governance, what democracy actually controls; legitimacy, why systems endure even as trust fades; and rule of law versus rule by law, when rules replace public consent. Each explainer is one building block. Together, they show how power actually works. This is TNBC Explainers, understanding how the world actually works. Democracy's narrowing space is part of TNBC Explainers Module 2, Power, Governance, and the State. TNBC Explainers is a growing YouTube course. New concepts are added over time,